In all my years as a counselor, I have yet to hear the first person say, I really don't think exercise would do me any good. It's just never happened. Now, I have heard just about everything else there is to say about exercising. I know it would do me some good, but I just hate doing it. I've tried exercising, and it felt great while I was doing it, but I just never seemed to stick with it. I used to exercise regularly, and it felt so good when I was doing it, but then I got away from it. And I just can't seem to get myself motivated to start again. I would love to exercise, but just can't seem to find the time. I could probably go on for hours, but you get my drift. Now, as a therapist, this conundrum had always intrigued me. Why is it that everyone seems to know that exercise is good for them, but most, 88% of the population, by way of fact, simply don't do it? It is probably most perplexing to a person who has been an exerciser in the past, who knows how good it feels, and then for some unknown reason just gives it up. I happen to have one of those in my office just this past week. She's bright, athletic, talented, motivated in her career, and a quite responsible person. She knows the benefits of exercise intimately. She did it religiously for many years, and then, for some unknown reason, she simply drifted away. Now she's about 40 pounds heavier than she'd like to be, and she attributes this, at least in part, to having become quite sedentary over the past 5 years. Of course, her diet has not been stellar, and that's a whole separate issue. But this week we were focused on exercise, or more specifically, the lack thereof. She was clearly perplexed by the knowledge that she knew all of the benefits, but simply was not doing it. Why? Well, to fully understand that conundrum, we have to know just a bit about the brain. We're really not wired to enjoy exercise. From a biological standpoint, exercising just to exercise serves no useful purpose. And the idea of feeling good afterward is not a great neurobiological reward for doing something that just doesn't make sense to the brain. Exercise burns valuable calories, precious resources hoarded by the brain in its ever-present quest to survive. Expending fuel to catch some food, or to get away from a predator, or to have sex, now those things make sense to the brain. And the brain has no problem spending energy stores for those purposes. But to walk on a treadmill, or lift a cast iron piece of weight into the air just to say I did it, or just to feel better afterwards, not so much. Exercising, when we strip it down into its basic components, is generally not a pleasant task. And that's by design. When the heart rate starts to increase and we begin to perspire and breathe hard, the brain registers such sensations as negative ones. Even when those things are happening, to catch food or run away from danger, they're still not very pleasant sensations. If we're engaged in those useful tasks, however, our brains override the unpleasant signals and we do the task anyway. To maintain safety and to maintain life. It is that if the task, however, is non-essential, the brain springs into action to regulate that unnecessary expenditure of fuel. Now, if the task involves something fun, like playing a game, the brain can override that signal and expend fuel for pleasure, if we put the mental focus on the fun, thereby ignoring those unpleasant sensations of breathing hard and sweating. Hitting the gym at 6 a.m. may seem fun at first, mainly because it's a novel activity, but once it becomes a bit boring or repetitious, the unpleasantry factor usually kicks back in and takes over. So, how do we go about solving this problem? Well, it's really the struggle between two separate brain systems, as we will see in tape number